Good morning, everybody. This is John Heerdink at Tribe Public. Thanks for joining us and look forward to connecting with you when we're out across the 36 venue sites across the U.S. But welcome everyone from around the world. We've had 31 countries represented in our webinar events where we highlight CEOs and experts that the tribe is truly interested in and cares about. Today's program is called AI in Action. Learn how Lantern Pharma's business model has multiple paths towards success. Our co-host today is Panna Sharma. He's the CEO of Lantern Pharma. Lantern Pharma is an AI company transforming the cost, pace, and timeline of oncology drug discovery and development. Their proprietary AI and machine learning radar platform leverages over 100 billion oncology-focused data points and a library of 200 plus advanced ML algorithms to help solve $1 billion real-world problems in oncology drug development. As they say, by harnessing the power of AI and with input from world-class scientific advisors and collaborators, they've accelerated the development of their growing pipeline of therapies, including 11 cancer indications, an antibody drug conjugate ADC program, and their development programs include a phase 2 clinical program and multiple phase 1 clinical trials. Again, thank you, Panna, for joining us today, and we look forward to receiving even more questions from the tribe. This is about a 30-minute session. We'll look to end the session at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. And then after that, we'll create a video from this event and publish it at the Tribe Public YouTube channel as soon as we can later today. So if you missed anything, you can go back and review any of the questions and or answers that were presented today. Please note before we get started that our website is tribepublic.com, TRIBE public.com. And I am also the managing director of Vista Partners, a registered investment advisor in California. And its website is Vista P Global, VISTA P as in Paul, global.com. Please review both sets of disclaimers at that in their entirety, and know that I'm not in an advisory capacity today, and that I am a shareholder advisor of Lantern Pharma. Thanks again for your attention, and I'm excited to get you on here with Panna today. Remember that you can send in any additional questions. We'll try to get them answered via the Zoom chat feature that's available to you on this webinar. So Panna, if you wouldn't mind pulling up your presentation and saying hello to the tribe, and please begin.
Great. John, thank you for the intro. Can everyone see my presentation properly?
Yes, it looks clear, Panna.
Great. So you see the full screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Again, thank you very much. I'm going to focus on one aspect of our business model today that I thought would be useful and also stimulate questions. So we want to have as many questions from the participants as possible. I really view this as your time. Again, I'm the CEO of Lantern. We're a NASDAQ-listed company trading on the ticker LTRN. We went public in June of 2020 and did a secondary in January of 2021. We raised about 96 million in the public markets, of which you have about a third of that on our balance sheet now. Our focus really has been to use and leverage AI, which all of us know has just completely blossomed and transformed, to focus on a singular question, and that's one around developing oncology medicines and oncology drugs. So because of that, we've been fortunate enough to generate a number of really exciting drug candidates that are currently all in clinical trials. And that's one thing that's very unique about our company. It's one of the most exciting paths towards successful value creation is that we don't just have one drug, we have multiple drugs, and they're all actually now dosing humans. And I'll talk a little bit about the portfolio, where that stands, and the value of the portfolio. But we also have multiple other paths, and I think this is fairly unique as a company. Not only do we have our portfolio of oncology drug candidates that have continued to mature quarter after quarter, gotten into clinical trials, We've released initial patient data on one of the trials, which is the Harmonic trial. But we also have, at the same time, had an unprecedented amount of productivity because of the platform. And that's allowed us to actually generate totally new assets focused that we believe can be spun out as separate companies. I'll talk a little bit about one of those companies that's fairly far along that we expect to spin out and monetize the benefit of our shareholders and cancer patients, called Starlight. And the core platform also continues to grow. And we're beginning to now explore ways to leverage that unique platform with larger tech companies and with big pharma to actually monetize the growing capabilities of the platform. Last week, we announced on Monday a very exciting new potential with our platform around antibody drug conjugates, which is a very exciting new area for cancer therapies. And I believe we're one of the few platforms out there that's been developed from the ground up to really address the complexity and cost of antibody drug conjugate development. And last, our collaborations. We have collaborations with some exciting oncology companies. Those in turn give us access to equity in those companies or to IP around the core assets being developed, and those also can be monetized. So we've got a number of paths. I'll go through each one of these paths and hopefully stimulate some questions from our audience and also from John. So let's go on our first path, which I'm very excited about. And this is, really oncology drug development. We do it very differently because of the platform. Our platform allows us to develop assets faster, cheaper, and also with greater precision toward very specific indications. One thing I'm particularly proud about is that we've gotten a number of orphan designations for our drugs, a number of rare pediatric designations, disease designations. In fact, we have 4 of them. That's more than probably any other company our size to have 4 rare pediatric disease designations. And this highlights the underlying precision of the platform to understand how a molecule will work and where that molecule should be pointed at. And then also we've gotten now 2 fast track designations, one in glioblastoma, which will spin out with our Starlight drug, and another fast track designation as well. Let me talk a little bit about where each one of these drugs stand. LP-300 is in a phase 2 trial. It's actively enrolling in Japan, Taiwan, and the United States. This drug is focused on a unique population of non-small cell lung cancer patients, of which there are hundreds of thousands every year. But there's about 15 to 18% in the United States that have non-small cell lung cancer, but they're never smokers. In places like East Asia, that number is closer to 30 to 40% of new cases of non-small cell lung cancer. It's a growing issue globally as the actual number of smokers decreases globally. We're finding that there are new types of non-small cell lung cancer driven by all kinds of other factors. But the issue remains that there's no real drugs that have been approved in this class of patient. So for us, this represents a real breakthrough. The drug seems to work. In the first cohort of patients, which we announced last year, we had an 86% clinical benefit rate. That's pretty great. It's a small number of patients in the first report out that we had, but we plan on expanding and having another report out later this year. That we believe that drug is about 3.5 to 5 billion in potential annual sales to that group of never smokers. LP-184 and LP-284, these are kind of sister or brother drugs. They both are synthetically lethal. Both are first in class. Both are new drugs, that first in human. And one goes after solid tumors pretty broadly. It works, the more aggressive the cancer, it seems like the better it seems to work. And this is where we received a number of our orphan designations and also one of our breakthrough designations. LP-184 is currently in a trial. It's enrolled in over 45 patients. We've had no serious adverse events. I think we've had 1 dose-limiting toxicity. and we're expanding on that. We're getting now to some really good response data across the current cohort of patients. LP-284, much like LP-184, but only focused on blood cancers, and that's about 3 to 4 months behind 184 in terms of development. And it's very interesting because we never actually even knew about 284 when we went public. So this is a totally new drug, new Orange Book. We took the pharmacophore, the active synthetically lethal mechanism of 184, and we're able to clarify and create a one that worked in blood cancers. So we have 184. We think that's a potential blockbuster drug, over 10 billion in annual sales potential in solid tumors. And those solid tumors are obviously genomically defined. And LP-284, similarly, in non-Hodgkin's and B-cell malignancies. And we believe that we're on the verge of actually expanding that to a number of other exciting indications. And again, both those drugs are in trials. And then finally, our antibody drug conjugate, which we've released some preclinical data on in HER2 and HER3 low expressing cancers with our cryptophycin. Very exciting, totally new design in the ADCs. And that also can, we believe, has potential to be $1 billion to $2 billion in immediate indication. And we have a number of other ADCs that are also in development. So you can see traditionally, this is what people look for. They look for pipelines. We do it in a transformative way because our pipeline is being developed at a rate that really is unseen for companies our size, and very importantly, for companies spending the amount that we are spending on a quarterly basis. The second is totally new focus companies. We've developed a very exciting new company that we've poured about $8 to $9 million into. We believe this company has $5 to $6 billion in annual market potential called Starlight Therapeutics. We've received fast track designation. It's currently in a clinical trial in phase 1A. It's enrolling GBM and brain cancer patients. We plan on this going to a phase 1B and phase 2, and we'll raise separate capital for this. And of course, Lantern and Lantern shareholders will continue to be the primary owner of this exciting new company focused on brain cancers. There's over 120 different brain cancers, and this drug seems to work across a wide range of brain cancers, including pediatric brain cancers and also secondary brain tumors that arise somewhere else in the body and travel to the brain metastatically and often cause and drive the death of the patient. So this is an exciting company, a very exciting drug. And again, this is all possible because of the analytics and the precision pinpointing of how this molecule will work in very specific brain cancers. And that all came out as a result of our large-scale data modeling and data analytics to look at lots and lots of billions of data points in brain cancer to kind of pinpoint and model the potency, the activity of this drug. This drug has been developed in collaboration with Johns Hopkins School of Medicine and also with UT Health in Texas, with the Greeley Children's Cancer Center. It's a very exciting company. We think this company is going to go into phase 2 this year and have readouts in phase 2 and phase 3 in the coming years. And we think our goal is to sell this at the end of our phase 2 trials. The third is the platform itself. The platform has been talked about by a number of industry analysts, people that were not paying, so not banking or equity analysts, but independent analysts at Biopharma Trend and Deep Pharma Intelligence and a number of Medicine and AI. People who are covering the industry were routinely ranked as one of the top platforms, both in terms of the maturity of the AI and also the maturity of the pipeline. So our platform is now hundreds of billions of data points, and it's really been focused on solving problems that we as oncology drug developers wanted to solve, and then we abstract those problems to larger data sets or larger scope and for oncology. And so it's oncology focused. It's one of the largest platforms in terms of size, but also in terms of functionality. This year, we're releasing updates to the platform so that key features of the platform can sit on top of large language models, which everyone has been hearing about, but also that'll drive hopefully new insight. And also, we believe partnerships with big tech companies to monetize the capabilities of this platform so that other oncology drug developers can use it, from everything from mechanism of action to drug rescue and positioning to predicting the blood-brain barrier of a molecule, and also other biochemical features, designing new antibody drug conjugates, helping to stratify patients for trials, figuring out which unique drug combinations should be tried in patients that are both safe but promise higher efficacy than the existing combinations, and then ultimately also identifying signatures. Can we make these trials smaller, sharper, more precise, faster? And so these are the key features. And again, our platform is one of the few platforms that's 100% focused on the core problems in oncology. And then finally, we have AI collaborations with some exciting companies, Actuate Therapeutics, which is now public. We own a small piece of equity in that company, which we will monetize, TTC Oncology and Oregon Therapeutics, where we have rights to certain IP around the drug and around the indications, which is very exciting. These are both first-in-class, really unique assets in some exciting cancers, and those can be monetized as we grow. Actually, as I mentioned, we started Actuate a couple of years ago. We were able to help them predict response, help them think about indications. Really great, exciting drug, but the drug can work in a lot of different indications. So it generates a lot of questions about where do we go next and how to identify those patients that are going to be very responsive to this unique GSK3 beta inhibitor. We've had successful publications. And very importantly, we've actually published that our signature has an 88% response accuracy. And that's not a retrospective analysis, that's actually looking at prospective patient data. So very exciting that all of these eventually will be able to be monetized, we believe, in some fashion. So what's the core underlying feature? What's driving all this? And ultimately, it's really productivity. It's really productivity. And this transformative change in terms of the precision and the velocity of the insight is being driven by AI. We're one of the very first drug discovery companies to leverage it fully, not just to make insights, but actually to bring them to life and put them into trials. We have a very focused team that cares passionately about changing cancer drug development timelines and changing the cost. And we've been in the industry long enough to understand the importance of financial discipline in this biotech sector, which I believe has continued to pay us a lot of dividends. And finally, we don't want to just come up with ideas. Our model is really patient-centric. We want to think about how do we bring this to patients and to clinicians faster. And we are not afraid to bring our drugs to the clinic. In fact, that's what we think about all the time. How do we get it to the clinic faster? What insights, what operational details, what interactions with the industry do we need? So we believe that these are the things that really are completely different about Lantern. They give us multiple paths to value creation. So this is a slide some of you may have seen before, but I want to talk about it again. As we're really developing transforming the development of drugs with AI, specifically in cancer. One, we have insights that can increase the odds of clinical trial success, and we've been able to put that into demonstration. We've launched 10 new programs in the last 3 years. We're able to predict and stratify real-world patients. That only increases the quality of the trials and the response of the trials in later stages, especially. And we can compress the timeline. We've been able to bring an idea about a drug. I mean, that means the molecule's not even been made. An idea of a drug to early stage clinical trials in less than 2.5 years at a fraction of the cost. We're talking about 20% or so, or less of the cost of traditional routes. And so that is all driven by our proprietary AI platform. And again, we want to monetize the underlying platform this year as well, which is very exciting. Many of you have heard me talk about this before and make predictions, but this is very essential today. the cost of training these GPTs has come down a lot. Obviously, the cost of training versus the cost of building is very different. It's about, I would say, to build a GPT versus to train it, it's about a 100x type cost difference. But the cost of training these GPTs is coming down radically, well over 100,000, meaning the cost to actually build it is going to be well under 10 million, which we've seen now with DeepSeek, which they did supposedly built their GPT under 10 million. But now that's a great opportunity for productivity because it's going to ignite across all the GPTs. The cost of deploying and operating these models is changing at such a rapid clip. I predict that by next year, companies like ours will be able to develop models that are very focused on very specific questions at a tenth of the cost of today. So we're talking sub $10,000 to develop, and then eventually even lower to deploy. We've already seen things to ask questions from GPTs go from dimes down to pennies, now to fractions of pennies. And this is going to ignite productivity growth in drug discovery and drug development at an unheard of pace over the next several years. And the great thing about that is Lantern, we believe, is sitting at the forefront of it. But more importantly, we've actually validated it. We've actually brought drugs to trials. We actually have drugs that have gone into patients. We actually have multiple case studies. We have multiple patents. And so we believe we're really at the forefront of this massive change where AI is transforming industries, but also giving opportunities that were unprecedented, multiple paths to create value. Like I said, we have oncology drug candidates. We have new companies that we can spin out like Starlight and new company ideas that we're already working on for the next year. Ability to monetize the platform by opening up portions of the platform, the broader industry with tech partnerships, and then our underlying collaborations. So I want to thank you guys for joining the webinar, but more importantly, I want to really urge you guys to ask questions today. So John, I'll turn it back over to you to help usher in the questions.
Yes, thank you, Panna. Very interesting. I mean, with, as you mentioned, DeepSeek last week sort of reset the stage, if you will, and got many of us off the sidelines that were been paying attention and those that aren't to really understand what's going on. You touched on it there. As far as creating value for you going forward, could you reiterate how these changes that are happening real time or faster than real time, it would seem these days, how it's going to affect you? And if you could also, one of the questions, I'm just going to combine it, if you will, is also related to being that you've got such great experience and depth with radar and the model and this multiple paths towards creating value and success. How are you still an independent company? Why, it seems to me that in many that this platform, if you will, and I know that gets overplayed, but it's one that truly is a platform that could be integrated into what any big pharma or any mid-sized pharma could do to really ignite growth and increase portfolios. Can you speak to all of that? It's a lot I threw at you.
I'm not sure what your question was, John.
Well, it's regards to the one DeepSeek. Can you speak to that a little bit more in
depth? I think it's really great for the industry. I mean, I'm not sure the quality of DeepSeek for our specific problems. We're in the early phases of looking at some of those questions, but we definitely think the cost and the openness of their platform is game changing. I mean, I dealt with OpenAI and Microsoft and even with Gemini, and I have to say it was very, very frustrating to get them to open up the platform, to get them to understand that we actually need to train it, not to be a language model, but to be a quantitative model. So we want to change the weights of the model. We want to deploy aspects of it locally. We want to control who can see the types of questions. So yeah, it's very frustrating. I think this changes the clubbiness. And ultimately, remember, technology is supposed to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and more accessible. Remember the first commerce engines, e-commerce engines, they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, you could go rent an e-commerce engine for $2 a day. $25 a month. And so that's game changing, right? So your local honey beekeeper can sell their honey. I mean, you can do things like Shopify. It's totally changed commerce. It's allowed a level of e-tail and access to goods and services that we never would have had if the engines were totally controlled by Oracle and Microsoft alone. That's the kind of change that we're seeing. We're going to see a democratization and a cost plunging of using LLMs, but also very importantly, transforming LLMs to what specific industries need. Like if I'm running a large scale back office operation that's reviewing contracts and tagging them, indexing them, I don't really need ChatGPT-4 Alpha 1 to do that. And more importantly, I also don't want to do it in the open domain. So if I can use DeepSeek and I can do it at 1/10 the cost and I can actually control where the data sits, man, I'll jump on that all day long. Whereas, maybe I would have been reluctant to do it before. So you can see this is going to create unprecedented amounts of value across lots of industries, but also very specifically in new drug discovery companies. Because the challenge, again, we're using our platform for a number of oncology companies, not because they don't have smart people, it's because they can't access and they don't know where to start. And so, again, this is an opportunity for us to open up our platform. And now that the precedent is out there, it's only going to get more and more. Also, for better or worse, I mean, Elon Musk is also doing this with his Grok platform, which I think is also game changing because that can be deployed locally and the weights can be changed. I think this is transformative for AI. It's like going from vacuum tubes to transistors. It's that transformative. And even more so because it's going to bring the cost of operating these models way down over time.
Thank you. Just a reminder, you can send your questions in through the Q&A chat feature down at the bottom of the menu for on Zoom here, if you're so inclined. One of the questions that came in is related, says, do we partner with any quantum computing companies? And if so, which ones? And is quantum computing a threat? I.e., will other companies be able to catch up with us once quantum computing is further developed?
I don't think so. I think quantum computing is great, but we do not partner currently. There was some early work done by Sanofi on quantum computing with a company out of France. It hasn't really yielded any results. They want to create new chemical entities, but I think we're technology embracers, but we're also practical about it. So I think if there's a practicality to quantum computing that surfaces, we'll be very early adopters of it.
So one of the questions regarding going back, you've recently participated at the JP Morgan annual, the biggest healthcare conference in the world, as we all know. Anything come out of all of those meetings that really excited you about 25 or 26 as you move forward?
Yeah, I think the two or three things. I think one, people are very excited about Starlight across the board. Hearing about it, seeing that's already in a trial, seeing how much we've developed it. So that's very promising for the company. The second is that the fact that we are very milestone rich this year, that we'll have data on LP-184, the early part of this year, LP-284, the middle part of this year, LP-300, the later part of this year. The fact that we're stacked with data readouts for one of the most important parts of our value creation, that is the underlying portfolio itself. I think people are looking, got a lot of eyeballs on us now. I mean, you can see that from the stock. You can see small moves in the stock that really get magnified quite quickly because people, so I think that's going to continue. And then I think the third thing is I think we see a new wave of investors. I think largely biotech investors, largely were kind of hands off or kind of hands away the last 2 years. I think they're now beginning to do the homework and dig in to look at select companies. And I think we're one of them. We've got real assets, we've got a great management team, we've got financial discipline, and we've got a lot to talk about in terms of things that we're accomplishing. So, funds are doing the work. We were milestone rich throughout this year for LP-184 early part, LP-284 middle part, LP-300 later part, and we have a spin out that we're working on as well. So I'm fairly bullish. I wouldn't say full out. There are a lot of macro things that are going on, so unfortunately, any little tweet can jack up this market quickly, as we've seen. But I would say, for our particular efforts, I'm very excited. And the macro smaller cap biotech, I'm optimistic.
Got it.
I think that's shared largely by my peers as well.
For sure. And tying in there, like me, I think you sort of just addressed this, but some call catalysts, some call milestones in biotech. Any in particular catalysts that would trigger people to learn more about and or time frames that you throw out?
Sure, I would have thought the ADC one, having a world-class ADC AI platform and our ADC would have triggered it, but our stock sold off. I don't know. I think, like I said, we have 184 coming out the early part of the year. We have 284 middle part of the year. We have 300. So I don't know how much more clear I can be about catalysts. And those are three very, very rich catalyst events. And then the most exciting one is the Starlight spin out. I mean, that alone could end up being more valuable than what Lantern has been valued at in the past 12 months, right? So those are all catalysts, John. I mean,
Yeah. So
people,
let's start.
yeah,
So
they need to understand those. I mean, we're trading at cash. It's well, you've got companies that don't even have a drug in a trial trading at the same levels. I mean, it makes for a lot of exciting upward opportunity.
agreed. As far as the catalyst around Starlight, what are different directions that this could go that you could speculate, help people
It could
understand?
be a private or public fundraise. Those are the only two directions typically. We may have a strategic partner as well.
Okay. Pana, we seem to have lost your video connection for some reason there. I apologize. There you are. You're back. Thank you. I guess
Yeah.
let me see. There's one last question I think that's come in here. Again, with as far as 184, can you specifically, it's like in as this milestone comes out, why do you see that as driving a catalyst or interest in the space just in pharma alone? Where would that, why now? Why?
LP-184 is a very potent molecule, meaning that nanograms of it will kill off cancer cells. So typically when you're a drug developer, that should excite you and it should also make you a little worried. Meaning, what is the safety and dose that I can give? Can I get enough of this drug into the body and to the cells so that I don't have dose limiting toxicities and so that it has a good safety profile? First of all, you want a drug that works, but when you have a drug that works and it works really, really well, like 184, then you start pushing on the boundaries of safety and efficacy. So the biggest thing is that we can show this drug to be safe at doses that drive an optimal kill rate to the cancer cell. And the reason that's very exciting for us is that we believe that the science behind 184 is that the drug activates inside the cancer cell. It's cancer's cell site activated. So meaning that the 184 that's present outside intratumorally or inside the body post-IV injection is not active. That's very important. That's the underlying thesis of this activation. And so if we can prove that through the phase 1A trial, that it has a very good safety profile while also getting to the right kind of kill rates when we have it at the right therapeutic dose, that's a big, big prover. And that takes a lot of risk off the table and will drive pharma partnerships. But also then we can mine the data from that trial to say what subtype of cancer is the most sensitive, and does that match our prior in silico work that we've already done? And that gives us a roadmap for the next trial. And that's very exciting also, because the next trial could be pivotal enough to get to an approval.
Yeah, some near term. Another question just popped up, Pan, if you will, says, appreciate what you've shared. Is large pharma building in-house AI, or do you expect them to acquire companies like Lantern or a combination of their?
I think they'll partner. I mean, they're reluctant to share their data, so a lot of their in-house AI capabilities are around their specific data that they have. which makes sense, but they tend to be terribly slow. They will all partner. I mean, we've had a number of discussions that eventually all the top 20 pharmas will partner.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're not AI companies, so they're not going to transform their businesses. They're going to buy assets where it makes sense, and that's why Starlight is very important. They don't wake up thinking they want an AI company. They wake up thinking they want a company that has gotten a drug that they can go sell for billions of dollars. That's their model.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So their job is to protect their existing revenue streams and generate new ones in the lowest risk possible. So that's why Starlight comes in, because Starlight is very focused. They wake up thinking about, can I hit the check mark in brain cancers, CNS cancers, GBM cancers, pediatric brain cancer? And so we have all of these really challenging brain cancers in Starlight. So if we prove out Starlight in a phase 1b, phase 2, it's perfectly open to sell quickly to a larger pharma. That's why we're very excited about it too, because it showcases the focused capability of generating new companies from new ideas.
That makes a lot of sense.
So thank you, John. I've got to hop off, but I appreciate it. If people have any other questions, please direct them your way. I'd be happy to take additional time or get these answered in email as well.
Thank you, Panna, for hanging over today. Just a reminder, everybody, we will be having Panna out across the country. Send us your interest in your tribe city. Remember, we're up to 36 venue sites. So, if we're not on your list, please let us know where you would like us to come, and we'll do our best to host either a dinner, luncheon, and/or speaking engagement, existing meetings. Just let us know, and we'll do our best to try to make that happen. Quick reminder, the video of this event will be at the Tribe Public YouTube channel later on today, and those that have signed in here will receive the Tribe This Week, which is our e-newsletter that goes out each Friday, and that will include this video as well if you've missed it or can't find it on our Tribe Public YouTube channel. But thanks again for your attention. Keep sending in your interest in either meeting with Lantern Pharma or any other company through our Tribe Public wish list process that many are familiar with, where you can just simply add the names of these experts or companies you want to learn from. And if we get enough interest otherwise, as we expose those ideas, we'll do our best to host either a webinar or an in-person event across the U.S. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the week, and look forward to seeing you all soon.